players' harm. And this is what's been taking place. I talk ish because you're never on my teams, but I was ready to support your crash out. That's fair. Your composure was much better than mine would have been. I'll tell you that. My growth is a gift and a curse, but mostly a gift. Oh, good to know. We were ready to take up collections if they tried to find you and everything. My piece.
The tension surrounding Caitlin Clark and Tiffany Hayes exploded into something far darker than basketball the moment those social media interactions started circulating online. What began as frustration after a heated matchup suddenly turned into accusations of encouraging hostility toward the biggest star the WNBA has seen in years. And the timing made the entire situation even more explosive. Just days earlier, Tiffany Hayes had been involved in an emotional, nationally televised battle where Caitlin Clark once again became the center of attention. Cameras followed every possession, every foul, every stare, every emotional reaction. And when the dust settled, the conversation online was not about execution, strategy, or late-game basketball. The conversation became about humiliation, frustration, and resentment. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark was doing what she has done her entire career, continuing to elevate her celebrity status beyond basketball. She was appearing at the Indianapolis 500, smiling for cameras, waving to fans, becoming the face of a sports movement that now stretches far beyond the WNBA itself. That contrast made everything feel even more dramatic. One side celebrating global fame, the other side still visibly angry days later. And that is why this story exploded. Because this was never only about one game between Caitlin Clark and Tiffany Hayes. This became another chapter in the ongoing civil war surrounding Caitlin Clark's rise inside women's basketball. Veterans versus the new era. Old guard frustration versus unprecedented attention. Fame versus resentment. Protection versus physicality. The moment fans saw those interactions online, the backlash became immediate. People began asking whether Tiffany Hayes crossed a line. Others defended the emotional intensity of competition. But one thing became undeniable. The rivalry surrounding Caitlin Clark had now evolved into a conversation about league culture itself. And once that happens, the story becomes far bigger than basketball.
And while we're enjoying the race, while some of you guys might be enjoying your afternoon, Tiffany Hayes still steaming over getting embarrassed. As I said yesterday, after getting her soul snatched, her heart ripped out, embarrassed on national television, Tiffany Hayes still steaming internally. Oh, I almost had her. So what does Tiffany Hayes do? She runs to Threads.
The emotional fallout surrounding Tiffany Hayes did not appear overnight. The frustration had clearly been building long before those social media reactions surfaced. But the nationally televised matchup against Caitlin Clark intensified everything because Caitlin Clark changes the pressure level of every single game she enters. Every arena becomes louder. Every foul becomes replayed. Every emotional reaction becomes a headline. For veteran players like Tiffany Hayes, that spotlight creates a completely different environment than the league experienced for years. One tough sequence against Caitlin Clark becomes viral within minutes. One emotional moment becomes debate content across sports media for days. And for athletes raised in a far less commercialized version of the WNBA, that adjustment can become emotionally exhausting. But what intensified this situation was perception. Many fans believed Tiffany Hayes was still emotionally stuck on the loss days later, while Caitlin Clark had already moved forward publicly, smiling at events, representing Indianapolis, and continuing to dominate headlines. That contrast fueled accusations that the anger toward Caitlin Clark was becoming personal rather than competitive. And this is where the WNBA finds itself trapped in a dangerous cycle. Every hard foul involving Caitlin Clark instantly becomes national discourse. Every veteran reaction becomes analyzed through the lens of jealousy, resentment, or targeting. Every social media post becomes evidence in an online war between fan bases. That creates enormous pressure on everyone involved, because basketball rivalries are supposed to stay between the lines. But the moment outside conversations start involving language interpreted as threats or encouragement of violence, the entire tone changes. Suddenly, the discussion is no longer about who played harder. It becomes about league image, player safety, and accountability, and the league cannot ignore that reality anymore. The rise of Caitlin Clark has fundamentally changed the stakes of every controversy. The audience is bigger, the media coverage is bigger, the reactions are louder. And every player associated with these moments now faces scrutiny, unlike anything the WNBA has previously experienced. That is the true long-term consequence of this controversy.
We know that most of the players think and act like the WNBA old guard fans. They hate that white girl. They hate her to the core. If nobody was looking and they could just, if they could just hem Cece up for a little bit, oh, it would make them feel so good inside. The hate in their heart. They just hate Cece 22. Fans have got a hold of this. Ooh. Fans got a hold of this.
The emotional tension surrounding Caitlin Clark reveals something deeper happening across the league. Because this is not the first time emotions around Caitlin Clark have spilled far beyond ordinary basketball competition. The reason is simple. Caitlin Clark represents a massive cultural shift in women's sports. Television ratings exploded. Road arenas started selling out. National debate shows suddenly discussed regular season WNBA games daily. And with that explosion came pressure that many veteran players never previously experienced. Players like Tiffany Hayes built careers during years when the league fought desperately for visibility. Now they are competing in an environment where one rookie-level superstar can dominate every headline cycle. Historically, sports leagues struggled during these transition eras. The NBA experienced it when Michael Jordan transformed basketball into a global entertainment product. Older stars sometimes resented how much attention the new face of the league received. The same thing happened during the rise of LeBron James. Increased media obsession creates emotional fractures inside locker rooms and fan bases alike, and that is exactly what appears to be happening around Caitlin Clark. For opponents like Tiffany Hayes, every game against Caitlin Clark carries emotional baggage before tip-off even begins. The crowd is louder, the cameras stay longer, the criticism online becomes harsher. And when things go badly, the internet reaction becomes brutal. That pressure changes psychology, it changes emotional control. It changes how players react after losses. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark continues operating under extreme physical pressure herself. Defenses are constantly aggressive. Opponents test her mentally every night. The league's physicality toward Clark has become one of the biggest ongoing discussions in sports media. And that creates another dangerous layer to controversies like this one. Because when fans already believe Caitlin Clark is being excessively targeted physically, even indirect jokes or violent language online become massively amplified. Supporters immediately interpret those comments as confirmation of deeper hostility inside the league. Whether fair or unfair, perception becomes reality online. And once that narrative forms, every future interaction gets viewed through that lens.
If she doesn't get suspended, you know it's rigged. Send it to her team. Tiffany Hayes, damn, like it was a great back and forth game. Both of you are hooping, but like doing this, nah. No space for hate, right? Or is that only applicable to certain players? It's only applicable to certain players' fan base. It's only applicable to us. It's only applicable to us. That's it. It's not applicable to everybody else. Ooh, ouchie. Are we really surprised? Nope. Nope.
The most dangerous part of this controversy is not just the backlash toward Tiffany Hayes. The real danger is what situations like this could mean for the future business growth of the WNBA itself. Because Caitlin Clark is no longer simply a basketball player. She is now an economic engine for the league. Every sellout crowd matters. Every television spike matters. Every national sponsorship matters. And the league understands that much of the public attention currently flows directly through Caitlin Clark's popularity. That creates enormous pressure on league leadership to avoid any perception that star players are unprotected. The moment fans believe Caitlin Clark is being targeted physically or emotionally, public outrage intensifies immediately. Social media campaigns explode. Debate shows amplify the controversy. Former athletes weigh in. Suddenly, one emotional online interaction becomes a national sports discussion. That is exactly what happened here. Meanwhile, Tiffany Hayes now faces a completely different level of public scrutiny than players experienced in previous WNBA eras. Every social media action is monitored. Every response gets screenshotted. Every interaction becomes debate fuel. And that pressure can quickly spiral into reputation damage. At the same time, the league itself faces difficult questions. How aggressively should the WNBA respond when online interactions appear to flirt with violent language? How much responsibility do players carry for fan behavior? And how does the league balance intense rivalries without allowing toxicity to dominate the public image of women's basketball? Those questions are not disappearing anytime soon. Because the Caitlin Clark era has permanently changed the attention economy of this sport. And that means controversies involving Caitlin Clark and Tiffany Hayes will continue carrying massive consequences far beyond one game, one post, or one emotional reaction. The stakes are simply too big now.